Alex. I'm so
Hello.
excited. I'm
I'm
so
excited.
excited. I could not sleep yesterday.
Really?
Yeah. So,
I'm
and
really
I'm even having like my heart is like boom, 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 but and exciting,
oh,
not that anxious. That no, I'm really excited about today. I have no idea why.
I'm so excited to be back again with you. So this is really cool. You're my first client session of the day. So I'm really excited
Mm.
that that I'm starting the day with this experience. I can't wait.
And you're my you're my first co reflector in what we decided we will call the reflective magical chat.
I
Yes.
love this. I love it. I'm in this magical bubble now for the next hour.
Yes. That is the aim of
Mm.
the channel episode, whatever it is. But before we dive deeper, so you mentioned that this is your first session of the day. So Alex, what do you do?
What I do. So I've got a business. It's called Alex's House of Social, and I help people and businesses and brands really become memorable and cast in the world of digital marketing, social media. I really help people grow their businesses at any point, at any stage. I'm a consultant. I'm an educator. Sometimes I'm an entertainer. So yes, this is me.
Well, let's put it this way. Even when you're an educator, you're an entertainer. And I mean it out loud.
I hope so. I would like to think that I can entertain and educate all at the same time.
Yeah. Well, but that's something that that's okay. Word decided to open 5, 6, 7 files at the same time. So okay. So that um but that's one of the interesting aspects and why I'm so happy that I'm starting this series with you is because we've talked a lot about inner magic and and actually even you touched on your own journey in getting in touch with your inner magic, and
Yeah.
that's who you are today. You do what you feel is right, so you're in touch with your authentic self, and you have a vivid imagination which you use in your business. So that's incredible.
Yeah. I think it's really cool that you've associated inner magic with our instinct and our inner flow and our inner frequency. I think when people hear the word magic, they think it's this like hocus pocus fluff, thing. But I do love how you are connecting when you say inner magic, that it's really like listening to our instincts, to our inside. What is this inner energy inside telling us? What is this animal instinct that we have? But so many of us are not listening to our instincts, and our instinct, we can fine tune our instinct and we can really rely on it to guide us. And for me, certainly my instinct has always been such a guiding force. And it actually really whacks me in the face, because when I don't listen to it and I'm not so connected in that zone, it really slaps me in the face, because things backfire or things don't work out. And even just recently, I had something that happened where everything went so wrong. It was just like one disaster after one disaster, and I got to the end of it all, and I was like, I was not listening to my gut my gut instinct. I was not in that flow state of being so connected with my gut instinct. I was just using my head and my brain, and I was in this like autopilot, and I love being in autopilot sometimes, but autopilot can be really bad because we become blinded, and everything just went to shit. And then I said to myself, there you go, that's what happened, because I wasn't tuning in to me, and my gut instinct was telling me, like, I have these messages, it was telling me in the back of my mind, telling me like, don't do it, it's not the right time. and I was just not even connected to myself in that month or in those couple of months, and then everything just went.
Oh wow!
And so
Yeah.
it's big. I'm like,
That's amazing, and it is an important message for us that we never learn. I mean, listening to our head is good, and like you said, being on autopilot works, especially during stress and so on. So it has its purpose, but on the long run, it becomes exhausting. And when you think about it, this is all inner magic. It is, it is the head, the mind, the body. It's that place that carries our resources, our wisdom, even our sadness and grief, which a lot of times nowadays we just reject everything that is unpleasant. Like, no. Actually, we learn a lot through our experiences.
Yeah.
And I just noticed, as usual, you and I can talk for hours and hours and hours. And there was a plan that I was, like basically I had an intro, and then we're going to start with the reflection, and we just jumped into the reflection right away. So basically, the aim of this these series are basically, it's a reflection on our inner magic, and as opposed to rather than bringing experts, we're just having conversations with everyday people. So what makes you unique is you're Alex, who has experiences and who's bringing it on board on the reflection. If it so happens that we talk about something that is close to your field or something that you know a lot about, then perhaps you are an expert on this particular subject. But really, the aim of you as or me even, we're not experts, we're just everyday people, or like the saying goes, we are spiritual beings with human experiences. And that's why we're reflecting. And hopefully, or actually rather than, it would be wonderful that people could also continue their reflection with us, even if they're not, like in this video right now. So the way this goes is that we will let oracle cards predict our conversation. I have a number of decks, which was very difficult, put to the side, and even I'm not going to pick the deck. It's the, what do you call it? The wheel, the spinning wheel will decide for us what deck we will pick, and I will shuffle, and we will pull a card, and we will reflect on that. So basically, I don't know what we will be talking about, nor do you, which makes it even more fun.
Yeah.
It might get uncomfortable. We might hit some vulnerability here. That's what makes it more fun.
Yeah, I love it.
So, are you ready?
I'm so ready. Let's spin it.
Woohoo! Isn't this cute?
This is so cute. Oh my God, I'm so obsessed.
Okay, let's see.
Oh, I want to film this. This is so cute. What are we going to get?
Creatures!
Oh, what? It's creatures. I'm so excited about it.
So now
I love this.
Okay. So Creatures is this beautiful deck by Sarah Kathleen. So it's an indie deck, so I love it. I love it when I get an opportunity to support indie, what do you call them? Creators.
Yes.
So here's the deck.
Oh, wow.
And I will be shuffling now. Oops. Okay, so it's communication.
Is that what's
communication?
Wow.
Huh. So tell me, what comes to mind when you hear communication?
I love this. First thing that came to mind was my grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because my grandmother, she was an opera singer. And so she was an artist. She was like a diva. And she was the one that put me in this crazy creative world. So if today I am a communicator, it's because of my grandma. When we were little, we didn't have much money, and I spent my first years when I was young in theater with my grandma, with all of these opera singing people. And let me tell you, opera singers and artists are not your usual humans. They are flamboyant, they are crazy, they are queer, they are gay, they are divas, and that's what my growing up was like. And I think my grandmother put me in the theater when I was at the age of 5 in the choir singing. So, communication and artistry and being around the arts, dressing up, getting your hair done, getting on stage, singing, dancing, all of this magical energy. That was grandma. So that's the first thing that definitely has come to my mind when you said communication.
Wow.
And she was the one that always told me that you belong in the stage. And at the time, obviously, it was more around performing arts. That was my journey until I was in my 21. And then I was lost for a long time, and full circle, that stages found me back again. Today I talk on stages, not necessarily doing musicals and theater, although I'm only 41 or 42. I'm only 42, so who knows? What can still happen? I'm very excited for the next 30 years or 40. So yeah, communication, it's definitely my grandmother. She is my fairy grandmother of anything to do with the arts. And every time I'm creating, either I am creating some crazy boots, I'm transforming, creating something for my business, or I'm doing my hair, anytime I'm creating, she is with me. Wow. So yeah, so communication, definitely grandma.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah. That's amazing. Her spirit continues to live through your art.
100%.
Or through, and wow, I did not see that coming. That such a word would, like, you just think communication, communication, and then actually, somehow it hit something in you.
I'm an over communicator. Like, for example, my mom is not. My mom is more like, you really needs to pull things out of her for her. I am an open book. I am such an open book. Like, I love to communicate. I'm an over communicator. I've learned how to develop better communication skills, not just in business, but in relationships and with men. So for me, communication, I don't think people understand how much of a powerful tool it is. And if we think about it, we don't get taught how to communicate. Like, the whole education system is broken. There's no classes that teach kids and young people how to communicate. So it's something that I really love. I'm an open book. I love to I'll talk about anything. I'm quite open that way, because if my stories can make you laugh, or if my stories can make you feel so alone, if it can be a source of inspiration, or, So yeah, I love to communicate. I'm obsessed with it. I could talk for hours.
There's so much to unpack here. It's like, where do I want to start? But okay, so you do. I fully agree with you in regards to, we are not taught to communicate. You can meet people who are dedicated to learning and so on, and still have no communication. We're not taught to listen, and if I'm not taught to listen, how am I expected to communicate better? We're not taught to connect with our own emotions and what's going on. So how am I supposed to be an effective communicator if I'm not connected with myself? And like, these are skills that we should be learning in school.
So true.
But
So true.
I do want to go back a bit because I think it's so interesting. I mean, whenever you talk about your grandmother, it's just so fascinating, and your childhood. And but okay, it's so interesting how you connected communication with your grandmother and the art.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question for you. What does communication mean to you?
Communication means energy. It means power. We look back at history, and we look at someone like Hitler. Look at the words. I don't think people really fully understand that with words we carry so much power to do good, to do bad, to manipulate, to inspirate. It's like,
Yeah.
it's power, and the word power can be, and I'm saying the word power with all of the positiveness it can be attached to. It's passion, it's energy, it's a bridge, it's so many of these things. But for me, I struggle sometimes when I have friends or people that don't communicate. So like I had said earlier, my mom, she's not like me. I am an over communicator. You will always, if you are a close friend or like my mom, you can know a lot, because I just very easily either my face says it all or I'll just say it. But my mom, she doesn't communicate so much openly. So sometimes I struggle with people like that, because I'm just like, well, why didn't you share it? Or why didn't you open the conversation? Or why didn't you just put that on the table and we could talk about it? But, everybody's different,
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, communication is power, it's energy, it's passion, it's a bridge, it's a tool, and that's definitely what I associate communication with.
Yeah. Can we go back a bit just in order to, to clarify, especially that is a sensitive topic that you brought up real quick when you spoke about political leaders. Yeah. Who, like, there is a misconception that, for instance, Hitler, where it's not about just, and this is what I assume you actually, I could be 100% sure that he has qualities which are admirable, such as his way of communication, but that does not mean that whatever he did was okay, right? And
exactly. Which is the power of, or you look at someone like Donald Trump, right? Or
exactly,
you look at history and you look at extraordinary leaders, and we still have that today. I mean, we could take this conversation into a much more darker, extreme places, but we won't make it. But we look at today, and if we look at there's religious, cultural, there's extremist movements, cults. It's all in the communication, all about that narrative, how they take people in, the way they communicate, the words that they say. When they recruit people to cults or extremist groups, it's a whole psychology. It's all in that communication. So it holds so much power over people.
Yeah. And that's, like you said, it's energy. So I'm sending out, as a communicator, I'm sending out an energy to you. If it's to manipulate you, to encourage you, to whatever, but it is energy. And going, which again, I find this so fascinating, that you connected communication with art, with opera and so on. And well, a side note, I do want to know a lot more about, I like opera, and I like opera singers and sopranos and so on. So, so I do want to know a lot more about, what happens behind it. You think that they're serious people, but apparently they could be very, very fun people as well.
Super.
That when you mentioned that communication and and how your grandmother taught you communication and so on, the communication skills, that communication is not just energy, but it is an expression. of whatever is going on with us,
Yeah.
we basically, we don't need words to communicate. And then,
Yeah.
like, when we think of artists, whether they're musicians or painters or whatever form of art they use, it is a form of them communicating something.
Absolutely. Like the way that we choose to express, even like the clothes we choose to wear, like how we choose to express ourselves, color communicates, interior design communicates, architecture communicates. Absolutely. Art is a form of communication. So I think for us as individuals, as humans, this is why I love so much the topic of, self-express, and really double down on how you self-express, like wear your personality, the clothes you pick, the hair you have, the way that you've transformed your environment. It all should communicate your, like you say, like your inner magic, like your personality, when I choose what I want to wear or the colors that I want, it's because when I step outside of my building and I, stand outside on the pavement, I really want to make sure that this is my world, this is my frequency, this is my energy, and everywhere I'll walk, where I'll go into, I want to carry that with me. And otherwise, I don't understand what are we here for. I don't want to be just. I don't want to be done. I want to maybe walk past you, make you smile, or I want to walk past you and smile, or I always say I dress for the little girls. The little girls, when they see me, they just get like, their eyes just light up. And I made a video about this a few months ago where I say I don't dress for men. I dress for me, and I dress for the little girls, because every time a little girl sees me, you should see like their all eyes just like light up. And I say to my mom, like, if I can make these little girls look to me and just feel some sort of magic, or just feel that, oh, I can have blue hair if I want to, or orange or pink or green. Oh, that's like, she's not a cartoon. She's not a Disney cartoon. She's real. Oh, that's possible. Like, if I can just make a little feel that.
And you're embracing that inner rebel in you, the rebel in you, and which is, I mean, the being a rebel is really a big part of your business, of your, well, how do you call it? Like, your slogan almost, and where you're not confined to society's how society views, like when society tells us this is how we need to dress, this is how we need to do our hair and so on, where you choose to be outside it. Okay, that I don't know if that makes sense. It did not even make sense in my head, but
no, I get you. Yeah.
Okay, something like a thought occurred to me just now, that how we communicate is a reflection of our inner magic.
So true. 100%.
So now you mentioned that you like to communicate. You're an open book, and you have no problem communicating. Okay. When was there a time, and you don't have to mention like the specific story in case there is one, you're free to mention whatever you want to mention here. When was there a time where you couldn't communicate? You felt, let's say, stuck, or you couldn't bring out the words?
I think it was after my grandmother passed away. I went through a period that I had no creativity. And I couldn't understand it, because when my grandmother passed away, I flew to Brazil really quickly. And then, she passed in Brazil. And when I was in Brazil, I was really like there for my mom. And I don't it's almost like I wasn't really grieving when I was in Brazil, because it was like being there for my mom and dealing with everything. And then because everything happened very sudden, I had to cancel a big master class that I had here. So as soon as I got back, I rescheduled the master class to write a week right after I had come back. So when I hosted that master class, there was like 100+ people, and it had only been like 2 weeks since my Nana had died. But you know, she had always taught me the show must go on. I knew I had to do that class because that was my way of dealing with and coping with things. So then I did the class, you know, it was great. And then after the whole sort of going to Brazil, she passes away, funeral, coming back, doing the class, when all of that went and I finally had time to grieve, or which I think, again, society just tells you, oh, you need time to grieve. But, you know, grief can be, you know, you can experience grief in so many different ways, and there's not a right way. But after that, I think I went through like a period of 2 months where I just had no creativity. It was just like a flat line. And I was okay, because I understood, okay, I think that's, maybe this is one way of how I'm grieving. Like, I'm not being able to create. I remember I wasn't putting much content out. And mind you, I had vlogged at my Nana's funeral. When I went to my Nana's funeral in Brazil, I was vlogging. Okay, I wasn't like jumping up and down. I was just documenting what was happening, because that's like my therapy. But yeah, that was definitely a time that I was just like, I didn't have any creativity. I didn't want to communicate. But I also want to say that when I was much younger, like in my 20s, and even in the beginning of my career, I was always loud, and I was always like, you know, I was loud, but I was confident as communicating. So I remember early in my career being in meetings with lots of people in these agencies that I was working at, and I didn't really have that confidence to speak up. And that was because I felt really insecure, because, oh, I don't have a university degree. You know, I didn't have those big degrees that a lot of these people had on the table. You know, I was the social media digital girl. Everything was, I was teaching myself. So there was a big time, a chunk of years where I was not who I am today in terms of that confidence to just be in a room full of men, especially, and to just speak up. I was confident always in a way of standing up to them, and I would always hold my head up high, because by then I'd already gone through so much with my father, and you know, but I didn't have the confidence to interject in those conversations and kind of put my stuff on the table that I wanted to say. I would just feel small, and I would be like, oh, what do I know? I don't know enough. Like, I don't have degrees. I don't have the big degrees. But the more I continued on my career, then the more you continue, I developed the confidence, and then I developed the muscle to start speaking up, and then I grew into my career. And so that was also interesting to point out that that was, you know, I would be in rooms and I would be quiet, and I would hear mistakes, and I would hear things, and I would know exactly what to say, and I knew, like, but I would be like, you know, just like, I would just sit there like really quiet and like,
I mean, that's so fascinating. I mean, you know, so sorry, I just needed a second just to, I had my own reflection and so on just now. I mean, okay, let's start with, I love what you said about when you didn't have your confidence, you felt that restriction, you felt like you couldn't communicate well, and so on. And I when I look back, it's the moments when I lack my, like, I remember, for instance, sitting in class, and the teacher would ask questions, and I knew the answer, and I think I was the only person in school who knew the answer. And I would not raise my hand because, I didn't have that confidence, or I just wanted to hide. And
Same.
so,
Yeah, same.
yeah, so it's not just about confidence. It's about, again, about being in touch with that inner magic, which, or let's say, uh, after grief. So I love it that you brought up grief as
Yeah.
part of intense sadness and so on. And then you have society expecting you to show up. She's dead. Get over it. Oh,
Yeah.
it's been 2 months. It's been whatever. Get over it. Rather
Yeah.
than actually, you could be grieving still. You could be still grieving. We
Yeah.
never stop grieving, I think, or
100%.
at least one part of it. It's like a wave, and these things affect us. So when we're not allowed to, and I don't know, these are things that are coming up right now, that we can be in grief and be expressive in one way, but when we're not allowed to connect with our sadness, our grief, this is when we are not able to communicate.
Yeah.
So, and actually, I remember seeing the videos of when you were in Brazil, and I mean, because you had posted it like several times after that happened. And so, and like you said, it wasn't ha ha ha. No, it was more documenting the moment, and because this is how you express yourself. This is how you express yourself at that time.
Yeah.
And like you said, the show must go on, and you continued doing what you were doing, but that flow of creativity wasn't there. So
Yeah.
how are you able to connect with your creativity and recommunicate with the world?
In general now, or specifically after that time?
Let's say after that time, since you shared this intimate
Just
story.
happened.
So let's go.
I think it was just organic, like because I run my own business, I have to get up every day and I have to show up to my business, right? Because I want to, and I love it, and I'm obsessed with it. And I think this is where a lot of times people don't understand the power of discipline and repetition, and people flake out a lot from things, right? And I always
Are
say,
you talking about me? Are you talking about me right now? No, I'm joking, because discipline is one of my biggest issues, as you probably. But anyway,
yeah,
I interrupted you, but I just had to when you said discipline.
And the discipline of commitment, and I just vlogged about that yesterday or a couple of days ago. Making commitments to things is really, especially when we are talking about, for example, entrepreneurship and building a business or anything. I think anything you really want to happen. I want to lose weight, for example. I want to have a much fitter body. I want to change careers. I want to build a business, or I don't know, I want to launch a podcast. Like, when we really want something and we really, really, really want it, we have to understand that we have to commit. And commitment is showing up even when it's a shit day or it's a bad day. Like, you have to commit. You have to make that consistent commitment to it. And that means that you may have weeks and months that you are going all in at 100% or 100,000. And then, of course, there will be or maybe months where maybe you are not running at 100%, but you are still showing up. So I think, to answer your question, because I show up for my business every single day because I absolutely love it. The exercise, the building the muscle of resilience, of strength, right? People talk about, I want to be strong. I'm like, okay, you want to be strong. What do you mean you want to be strong? You want to be strong in here, in your heart, in resilience, in showing up, in making commitments that I will show up. Even if I'm having a bad day, I'm going to show up to this thing that I said I love and I want to. So I think the showing up every day to House of Social, which is obviously a big source of love and passion. It's I'm obsessed with it. I love it. It's like the biggest, best hobby I have. That consistency of showing up eventually then got me back into that creativity. If I wasn't showing up and I was just at home, my mom always said this to me since I was little. My mom says, sometimes when people are very, very, very comfortable, it's not the best thing, because it doesn't light up that fire in their ass for them to get up and do.
Can you repeat that again, because it was cutting? Yeah. What was?
Oh yeah. So my mom, she's always said this to me since I was little. Oh my God, but like since little, she always says this. Not sometimes, she would say, when people are too comfortable in life, that's always a thing. Because when they're too comfortable, everything gets soft. They don't have that fire. They don't have that drive. They don't have a need. They don't have a necessary need. So everything that's just comfortable. And I think that is definitely something that I find for me has helped me a lot, because I've never had, let's say, for example, a lot of financial comfort, that maybe I inherited a lot of money, or maybe I've got rich, wealthy parents. Like I've just always had to work for everything that I have. And I think that helps a lot to make it happen. And so maybe if I didn't have my business, maybe if I didn't have something to hold on to, maybe I would have gone maybe into a depressive state, or maybe I would have gone into more of a, a sad, longer period, like I would have just like let myself go, So it's so important to have things that we can hold on to, that we love. It does not have to be a business, but man, find things that you love, find things that you become obsessed about. It can be a hobby, it can be a side hustle. I don't care what it is, but you gotta find things that light up your belly, that light up your fire, because it can really be the life jacket for when things even go bad. Yeah. So
yeah. I mean, thinking back, like as someone who has episodes of depression and anxiety, and that when we're feeling depressed or just stuck, we can't think of things that bring us joy. And I know for me, it took me years to, like that spark, that fire. I felt like it's almost like I lost it. Or back then I felt like, what, I lost it, I'll never find it again. And it took me slowly, it took me little by little steps, but I got there, where I'm getting connected with that spark, finding things that I like, and it is a journey in its own, finding that spark. So it's not something like, okay, I'm grieving now, it should be over. No, give it its time. I'm feeling stuck, give it its time. Let it simmer. I can't find my passion. It's okay. Give it its time. We're always rushing. And so another thing that came to mind now, when we pulled the card communication, I thought, of two people communicating, external communication. Now, throughout, it's like, wait a minute, what about internal communication? Like I was going to ask you, and okay, do you think, basically, which is more important communication or showing up? And then it occurred to me, I don't even know why I got that question. And then it occurred to me, and I'd love to hear your reflection on it. Actually, both are important, but we need to have that inner communication with ourselves. So inner communication is incredibly important. It's a key element of us moving forward, is to communicate with ourselves. Like you said, I'm having a shit day. Okay. I'm sorry you're feeling that way.
Yeah. The relationship to self is the first and the most important one. The relationship that we have with ourselves is always, for me, I believe, should always be priority and first. Because if I'm not choosing me first, if I'm not choosing to work on myself, heal myself, communicate with myself, actually, let me say that better, check in with myself. Like I wake up every single day and I troubleshoot myself. Some days more quicker, some days longer, you know, but we cannot always be in autopilot. We have to, the relationship to self is the most important. Oh my God, it's how we can heal. It's how we can traumas that we have, wounds that we have, you know, pains that we have. You know, it's how we have a check-in on keeping humble, having compassion, having empathy, always, constantly, but in a way that it's healthy. Because I think this can also quickly become about overthinking. It's nothing to do with overthinking. It's really having the ability to look ourselves in the mirror and start to understand, shit, what do I need to work on myself? I need to, like, you know, I need to get over some traumas, got some triggers. I did not do well with that person. That was shit of me. What do I need to do now to make that better? And even like, why do I feel like that? Sometimes when my clients tell me, like yesterday I had a client and she goes, "Oh, I'm scared, Alex." And I go, "What is making you scared?" Like, I just love it when clients or people tell me like they feel scared or whatever it is that they're telling me. My next question is always like, of what and why?
Yeah.
And
Important.
it's funny because when people pause, like if you notice, people will be like, "Oh, I haven't let me fully understand. Why did I say I'm scared? Where is it coming from?"
Inner communication. I need to communicate with myself why that I'm scared. I'm acknowledging it, why I'm scared, and this is when then fear loses its power.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Because then
So,
it's almost that autopilot mode that we talked about earlier. Is that people are in a state of fear, people are in a state of overwhelm, people are in a state of overthinking, but they are not stopping and having those conversations about, why am I like this? Why is so much bad things happening to me? Why can I not do anything right? Why do I keep, breaking down? Why? And it's so funny, sometimes I observe people that are like that and I see it from afar and I'm just like, oh my God, this person needs to stop, because they're in this,
my pattern, why do I keep repeating my pattern, whether it's relationships, work, it's that lack of communication. So
100%.
this has been a very interesting conversation. It started with communication. We covered grief. We covered blocks. We covered all sorts of things, and ineffective communication. And I think we can go on and on and on and on. but we will cut it here. So thank you very much, Alex. It was very informative and very reflective, and I'll be thinking about it for the rest of the day.
Goodbye, I hope.
Yeah. So, and I will leave your contact information, website, and so on the, what do you call it? Yeah. And I definitely look forward to having more reflective sessions with you.
Thank you so much for having me.